If you're waiting for motivation to show up before you train, you're fucked. Motivation is bullshit. It's unreliable, it's fleeting, and if you're building your training around it, you're gonna quit every time. Motivation is overrated. It's a spike of energy. It's not a system. Everyone feels it when they set a New Year's resolution or they watch some hype video. It's one thing that hustle culture doesn't touch on. They just make you feel bad if you're not grinding. Sure, all these hype videos are great. Watching David Goggins go out there and get after it is great, but that's not motivation. That's discipline. I guarantee you he's not motivated to get up and go out there and do all those things all the time. He just knows that he has to, which is discipline. What happens when you're tired, you're stressed, you're busy? You don't do it. Then you feel bad. Then you guilt eat. And then you feel even shittier. And it starts again. That's why most people fall off. They rely on hype, not structure. So what actually works? Consistency. Routine trumps motivation. You need to build habits that slide into your life. My routine has varied over the years because it's got to flow, it's got to move with your life. But there was a point where I was getting up at 4:30 every day. Not because I was trying to show how hard I hustle and grind, but because it was necessary in that point. We owned a coffee shop and I was also working as a personal trainer. So if I didn't get up at 4:30, I couldn't get the shit done I needed to do before my full day started. And the way I made that work was all quite simple, really. When you have your alarm next to your bed, you are more likely to just turn over and push snooze. But I would start by putting it in the opposite corner of the room where I couldn't reach it from the bed. And I would put it on the clothes I was gonna wear to start my day. Before I went to bed at night, I would tell myself, okay, all you have to do when you get up in the morning is put your running shoes on. And those two simple things, the phone over the other side of the room on top of the running shoes, worked a treat because you get out of bed and you're thinking, I gotta put my running shoes on. You go over, you turn off the alarm, you put your running clothes on, your running shoes, and then boom, out the door. If you're struggling to get out of bed in the morning, don't put your phone where you reach it, because if you hop out of bed and push snooze and then hop back into bed, you're fucking lazy. My daughter goes to her daycare from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. So there's that 4-hour chunk in the morning where I can do some work. She gets up at 7, so from 7 until 8, that's when we're getting ready for the morning. We give ourselves an hour because, look, she's 3 years old. There's not a whole lot of shit she needs to do in the morning, but having an hour to just do it slowly is dynamite. But I've got some time before that. If I get up at 5, I've got 2 hours before I need to get her up at 7, and then we go through our morning routine. It's a nice little break, and then I get back and I've got another 4 hours, and then in the afternoon I'm with my daughter. I'm, part-time stay-at-home dad. But yeah, those 2 hours in the morning for me now looks different than it did back in Gold Coast. I get up and I go through some breath work. I do a bit of slow movement. I do a little bit of journaling. I just do a few things in the morning that just bring me peace and just re-ground me, get myself set up for the day. Maybe a bit of editing, maybe the email marketing, whatever. And then that 4-hour block I have later on is when I can really zero in and go hard. But those 2 hours in the morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. So I've touched on this a bit recently, micro workouts, right? So this is something I do as well during the day because it's just so much easier to fit into my routine. And I'm getting good results on it. I've got a video here you can check out. Basically, all I'm doing is, while I'm waiting for the jug to boil, I'll go through a quick circuit, 2 to 3 minutes worth of exercise. Later on in the day when I'm down at the park with Sol, boom, I'll knock out another 2 to 3 minutes on something very specific. Maybe I'm practicing handstands, maybe I'm doing a bit of hip mobility drills. But little micro workouts throughout the day, that consistency of doing it all the time, it's fucking easy to do that. It's a couple of minutes at a time. It's so much easier to build and maintain that habit than it is trying to force yourself to go and do some big fucking 1.5 hour routine at a time of the day that doesn't really work for you. So doing those little micro workouts throughout the day, that builds routine, that builds consistency. Hey, if you want to go and do long workouts later on from there, awesome. But build the routine first. Make yourself happy and fucking excited to do exercise before you try and force yourself to get into some routine that you may or may not always be motivated for. And small drops of effort done daily compound over time, right? And they're gonna compound so much harder than waiting to find that perfect 60 minutes to start your routine. Consistency comes from lowering the friction, from making it easier to do these things by starting with small, simple habits. My wife's big one is she wakes up and she makes the bed. That's the first thing she does. She makes the bed because it's easy. She's right there. She's done it. Then she has a glass of water. Boom. 2 little tasks done to start the day that sets the tone for everything else. You know, you're building your routine and you're doing it with 2 fucking simple things straight off the bat. Right on cue, the construction is starting. Yeah, some other simple things you can do is like tuck the resistance bands underneath the couch and that, or underneath the bed, wherever you got your TV set up. And then while there's those natural breaks that come in the show anyway, you can stand up and you can go through a quick micro workout. That's the whole thing, right? Like I focus on movement now, not exercise as such. I move my body every day. It doesn't have to be a workout. I play with my daughter. We crawl around. We walk around the neighborhood. But like every day we're moving our bodies. Because look at how old machinery rusts and seizes up. That car my uncle's got in his back garden shed that's, been sat there for 20 years and won't work now, seized over. Like that's what happens to your body. And the reality is we are sitting so much more now than we ever have. Like we're the most sedentary, we're the most sedentary, we're the most sitting down generation in history. All our work is online now, all our work's on the computer, so we're sitting down, we're seizing up, we're in these shitty positions, so we need to be opening our chest, we need to be opening our hips, our shoulders, we need to be hanging, stretching, crawling, climbing, we just need to be fucking moving. We don't necessarily have to be sculpting the perfect physique. Consistency works when it's part of who you are, not just when you're motivated. I don't have time for 2-hour gym sessions, and I don't want to make time for that, right? Like I'm a dad now. Yeah, I just said part-time stay-at-home dad. I get the whole afternoon with my daughter, but that's exactly the point. I get the whole afternoon with my daughter. Like, why would I miss out on some of that to go to the gym? Like, no one's going to be lying on their deathbed thinking, fuck, I wish I hadn't spent so much time with my kids so I could have got abs. No one's going to think that. You're going to be sitting there thinking, like, why did I waste so much time sculpting a body that didn't fucking matter when I could have been hanging out with my kids? But, like, that's the thing. Like, I play with her. We play, we move. Sometimes we just hang out in the garden. She helps me water it. She does the weeding. Sometimes we go to the park and we crawl around and we climb over things. She climbs trees, so I want to climb the tree and hang out there and do shit with her like that. But playing, moving, rough and tumble, like she's not quite ready yet, but she's going to start training jiu-jitsu at some point. But I play in ways with her already that's getting her ready mentally for, because look, jiu-jitsu can be stressful, you get stuck underneath people and you can't move, so we'll do moments of play where I'll lie on her, put a bit of pressure, and she doesn't panic. I'm not an asshole about it, but just getting her used to being stuck in these shitty positions and pushing me away and crawling out of these spots and just crawling around the house. It's a big joke for her at the moment, pretending she's a dog and crawling up the stairs, so I'll do that as well. And that's just a couple of moments of fun more than anything, but you do that often enough and you slow it down and do it with just a little bit more intention with the movements and make sure all your muscles are going, and that's a moment of a micro workout. I'm so much more excited by that kind of exercise, just movement and play, and I'll practice my handstands, do some hip opening drills, just in moments where, okay, so there's times when she just wants to sit and paint and draw and things like that. I'll sit down there in a squat with her, because really we should be spending a couple of minutes in a squat each day, but you don't want to just stop what you're doing and specifically do that. Fit it into the other shit that you're doing. Motivation will fail you, so you need to build systems that won't. And there's all these times during the day where you have to do specific things, right? Like you have to prepare your meals, you have to tidy up your house, you have to interact with your kids. Like there's all these moments that you have to do. So if you're having to do something anyway that are taking you away from these fucking unimportant things like work, then you might as well incorporate some movement into that, because it's gonna last. I had a friend reach out to me recently that was all excited. She sent me a video of her down at the beach with her kids doing squats in the sand. The kids were running up the sand dunes and having fun, so she made it into a little game with the kids, made it into exercise, and that's exactly what it's all about. It only needs to be a few minutes. But if you're doing things anyway, find ways that you can move. Okay, how can I open my hips while I'm doing this? How can I open up my shoulders? How can I improve my posture? That's how we should be thinking, not, fuck, I've got to make time for 2 hours today so I can go and get fucking huge biceps. That's just fucking stupid. If you want more on how I train with short, consistent sessions that stick, then hit subscribe and go check out some of my other videos. Thanks for checking out this one, and I'll see you on the next one.